Mr. Berlinski. Mr. Berlinski, it's your opportunity to make an opening statement. It's your opportunity to make an opening statement.
Darwin's theory of evolution is the last of the great 19th century mystery religions. And as we speak, it is now following Freudianism and Marxism into the nether regions. And I'm quite sure that Freud, Marx, and Darwin are commiserating one with the other in the dark dungeon where discarded gods gather. The problem facing us at the end of the 20th century, with a magnificent body of theoretical accomplishment in physics and mathematics, and a very rich body of descriptive material in biology, is to come to an understanding that when it comes to the large global issues that Darwin's theory is intended to address, we simply do not have a clue. This is a daunting admission to make, but if we're intellectually honest, we should make it. The mechanism that Darwin proposed, that of random search or a stochastic shuffle, is known to be inadequate in every domain in which it's applied. It's known to be inadequate in linguistics, and it's certainly inadequate when it comes to the overwhelming complexity of living forms. There is no reason on earth to believe that this mechanism is adequate to the task that it sets itself. If it should come to pass in the fullness of time that we discover that there is no explanation for life, we will have to accept it. If it should come to pass that we discover in the fullness of time that the only explanation for life is that it is a process designed for transcendental purposes by a transcendental figure, we will have to accept that too. And if that should come to pass, I would like to ask, who among us will genuinely feel diminished? Thank you.
Don't go away.
Don't go away.
Mr. Berlinski, I do want to commend you for the rich description of biological systems and species in your commentary article. You claim that there are some species that have what you at one point referred to as weird characteristics that are nearly unique. For example, only a few plants eat insects or carnivorous. Why aren't all of them? You also ask, if evolution is true, quote, then why are women, but not cats, born without the sleek tails that would make them even more alluring than they already are? Well, now, aside from aesthetics, you know, I saw the Catwoman Batman film too, but aside from that, why? You don't seem to understand that different ecological environments in the distant past, as well as today, produce different adaptations. Why is that so strange to you?
You're right, I don't understand it.
That you would find it as a failure of evolution?
You're right, I don't understand it.
You don't understand that different ecological spaces require different adaptability, that the same kind... You don't?
No.
Well, it seems fairly easy to figure out that if you're living in a desert,
that is the difficulty
finding
with the Darwinian
water
position.
would be
it's
more
always
important.
easy to persuade yourself that you've understood something when you haven't understood a thing. The issue before us is not whether retroactively we can explain an adaptation, but whether we can draw that adaptation from general principles. This is what Darwinian theory cannot do. And this is the requirement of normal science.
Well,
if I'm doing astrophysics, I have a dynamical theory. I can simulate the evolution of the universe, and I know where the theory agrees with the data and where it does not. I cannot do that in biology.
Well, then
Whatever
I think
happens,
with a simple sentence you could. Random selections which make a species more likely to survive are beneficial. That's a very simple idea, and it explains why, in fact, some species survive and others do not.
I mean, adaptive differential reproduction is the definition of natural selection.
Sera.
Why is this
what
a
will
problem?
happen will happen. That,
what is this a
that
problem?
could not be the locus in which you repose your trust. What will happen will happen. Big deal.
No, that's not
a theory.
no, adaptive differential reproduction is not what will happen.
That's just a large Latinate construction.
Let me ask another question.
Why don't you explain what that term means?
Well, I don't know. It may not necessarily enlighten our listeners, actually, because it is technical. But that's the whole point.
It's not technical. It just means what survives, survives.
One of the reasons why people like me who deal with the creation evolution issue all the time get very frustrated dealing with, say, Institute for Creation Research people and so forth, is because they are constantly saying X didn't happen, and then it takes a great deal longer to explain why X did happen, gaps in the fossil record or whatever. Let me ask you a question about your commentary article.
Okay.
You said in your commentary article, page 20, the major transitional sequences in the fossil record are incomplete.
Yes, they are.
And you cited as your reference Romer's hot off the press 1966 article.
No,
now, are you Romer? Romer is a very great man and very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
1966 is not exactly cutting-edge paleontology.
Right.
Are you familiar,
let me
sir?
answer. Let's turn to Carroll.
No. Are you familiar with the research that's been done in the last 31 years?
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that, because you would realize that the major argument going on among paleontologists dealing with the reptile-mammal transition is, where the hell do you draw the line? These things grade insensibly
is there
into
a
each other, and they
question
have
answer?
no ability to say, these guys are mammals, these guys are reptiles, because they roll into each
Yes,
other.
I agree with the tail end of your question. Late reptilian transition to mammal is well documented in the record, although nowhere near as well as Darwinian theory requires. That's a big distinction. But if you dislike the citation to Romer, who's a great figure in paleontology, let's look at Carroll's new book on chordate paleontology, hot off the presses, page 4, left side of the page, evolution heading, third paragraph, second sentence. What does he say? He says, the evidence shows that major transitions are missing from the fossil record, just as Eldridge, Gould, and Stanley
In reference to the chordates. Now, the fact that we don't
that's the
have all the
strongest case.
information...
That's the strongest
The fact
case.
that we don't have all the information... No, I was talking about the reptile-mammal transition.
Chordates
are very, very much
The
earlier.
gravamen of your argument is the
chordates?
chordates. Vertebrates, that's us.
No, chordates are
we're all
the which
chordates here,
vertebrates
Mike.
belong.
If you turn to the insects, the situation is catastrophic. There is no fossil documentation. None
Of
whatsoever.
what?
For the insects.
There's very good fossil
Very
documentation
poor.
for the
Butterfly,
relationship
Lepidoptera,
between ants and wasps. There's excellent
Yes,
transition.
there are lateral
Oh,
transitions,
but we won't count them. Let's talk
Lepidoptera,
about the ones we don't have evidence
spiders,
for.
major insects groups, they
That's silly,
simply
you know?
appear.
Mr. Berlinski, you're never going to be satisfied. Every time
You're
that
right.
you find 16 new things, new fossils, to fill in the so-called fossil record that was missing, you just say find 16 more. So my question to you is, how many 16 to the what power do we have to discover before
I'll tell you
accept this is
exactly.
true?
Here's what Darwinian theory rigorously requires. For every significant morphological or physiological feature in a modern species, we should have a panoply of intermediate forms that explains how they arise. We don't have them
That's
for
not what
some
Darwinian
good
theory
reasons, but we have nothing like an explanation for the gaps that
fog is
exist.
rolling in again.
I'm telling you, the species aren't there.
We were talking, first of all, about evolution, descent with modification. Now we've shifted over to mechanisms of evolution.
No,
Gotta
I haven't
watch that.
mentioned
And we're out
mechanisms.
of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Berlinski.